call a skull without 100 billion neurons?
A no-brainer.
Well, close enough is a brain with a traumatic brain injury. Injuries to the brain are surprisingly more common than people think. Approximately 1.7 million people sustain a traumatic brain injury, or a TBI, every year. 52,000 die.
Brain injuries are defined as injuries that are caused by sudden damage to the brain. The brain is a surprisingly sensitive organ, capable of being damaged despite being enclosed by the skull.
There are two different types of brain injuries, open and closed. Both occur too often each year, sending thousands to emergency rooms across the nation. The problem with brain damage is that it can cause both primary and secondary damage. That is, instant damage or damage that presents symptoms over time.
Causes of TBIs can include just about any incident. Falls, car accidents, violent assaults, really anything of collision. For a physician to diagnose these injuries, patient records, clinical presentation, and brain imaging studies may all need to be done. This can include CT scans, MRIs, fMRIs, EEGs, and other brain imaging techniques. Even after diagnosis and treatment, patients may still be drastically affected and have subsequent after effects.
For example, TBI may cause deficits in sensory, physical, cognitive, communication, behavioral, and swallowing abilities. Problems from swallowing in the mouth and throat to the very cognitive process going on in the brain can occur. Learning and memory in particular are often damaged, halting further developmental abilities of patients with the TBI.
Okay, we want to first talk about one of the most common injuries, the concussion. When we grew up, people always took injuries with stride. A knock on the head was almost expected with tumbles and adventuring of childhood. Now, however, research shows that how sensitive the brain actually is when it comes to concussions or a mild TBI. Contrary to popular belief, you don't need to pass out or significantly show symptoms to have brain damage.
The brain is fundamentally soft. Yes, it's protected by the skull, but the brain can damage itself on that very protective barrier if it's knocked too hard, causing an overall TBI. The brain's fluid is not sufficient to protect the skull, as the brain crashes right into the skull and injures itself. Concussions need to be treated right away, just like with all TBIs. Concussions untreated can cause interruptions in overall cognitive processing. Drowsiness, weakness, confusion, vomiting, slurred speech, or even seizures can result if these TBIs are ignored.
Not all hope is lost, though. There have been exceptional cases within the field of psychology that show just how hardy the brain is. In 1848, Phineas Gage was working as a railroad construction worker, and at this time, they often used dynamite to blast away rock and clear a pathway for the railway. On September 13th, one of these very iron bars used in blasting rock malfunctioned and propelled itself right into Phineas Gage's skull. The iron entered and exited Gage's skull.
While grisly, what's even more interesting about this case is the fact that Gage not only survived, but survived to function as a normal human being afterwards. What was strange was the distinct personality change. After recovering from the injury, his friends and family noticed that Gage's character dramatically changed after his incident. A report was written on the mental manifestations of Gage's injuries in 1868.
Another particularly interesting case was the case study of Jimmy, as referred and studied by neurologist Oliver Sacks. Jimmy had experienced a TBI, resulting in ultimate brain damage. Jimmy experienced loss of memories completely and in fact experiencing anterograde amnesia.
There are two types of memory loss that can occur due to TBIs, anterograde amnesia and retrograde amnesia. Retrograde amnesia focuses on patients with complete memory loss. That is, they can't recall their past at all. Anterograde amnesia, as featured in Jimmy's case, though, focuses on patients who can recall their past but can't form new memories. Neurologists would show Jimmy a mirror, and he'd always think they'd done something to him. Jimmy couldn't understand that he was aging. While cases like Phineas Gage's give us hope as to a patient's outlook after suffering TBIs, common side effects of TBIs are clear, as demonstrated in the various forms of amnesia that can manifest after a person suffers a TBI.
We'd like to speak about interesting developments that have been studied as time goes on. Can you imagine smelling music, hearing the taste of raspberries, or seeing texture? What I'm saying sounds like a string of typos, but in fact it's the way that people with synesthesia think. People with synesthesia essentially have the wires in their brain crossed. They feel sounds, taste, feelings, and smell colors.
One particular study noted that after a traumatic brain injury, a patient surprisingly developed synesthesia. About 9 months after suffering a stroke, the patient noticed that words written in a certain shade of blue evoked a strong feeling of disgust. Yellow was only slightly better. Raspberries, which he never used to eat very often, now tasted like blue, and blue tasted like raspberries. High-pitched brass instruments, specifically the brass theme from James Bond movies, elicited feelings of ecstasy and light blue flashes in his peripheral vision and caused large parts of his brain to light up on an MRI.
This is interesting because most people are born with synesthesia and do not acquire it. The patient said that his brain was literally rewired by the initial shock of the stroke. This worried him and caused him to look for help to rewire it.
The ultimate message of today is that traumatic brain injuries are a serious topic. They occur much more frequently than people understand and can manifest in symptoms from amnesia to vomiting to even just headaches. The field of injuries categorized as traumatic brain injuries is nearly unfathomable. From concussions to literally having a pole shoved through your skull, traumatic brain injuries take a variety of forms. As we continue to advance in the medical fields today, we need to continuously analyze, prompt, and note the variety of effects that materialize from known effects to surprising new ones such as synesthesia. The brain is a funny thing, and we need to keep working to uncover its mysteries.
Thanks for watching, and recorded by Taylor Heinen.
Tell me something I don't know.
1.7 million people sustain a traumatic brain injury or a TBI every year. 52,000 die.
52,000 people die.
Taking a break from the study of effects after TBIs though, not all hope is lost, though. Okay. Used in blasting rock malfunctioned and I'm just butchering the blasting rock malfunctioned and propelled itself right into Phineas Gage's skull. The iron entered and excited Gage's skull.
Capricious and vacillating. And while grisly, that's so
Brain injury, a patient surprisingly developed synesthesia. About 9 months after suffering a stroke, the patient noticed that words written in a shirt. Can we restart?
Yeah.